Following Huawei, DJI has once again become a key target of the United States to curb China's rise in the field of high technology. On April 21 this year, DJI Dajiang ushered in an important judgment in the United States. After a jury trial in the District Court for the Western District of Texas, DJI was finally ruled to have infringed on 2 U.S. patents of a U.S.-based company called Textron Innovations, with one awarding $30.7 million and the other awarding $248.2 million. The two totaled $278.9 million. Just recently, the United States Textron company to DJI does not cooperate with the court review for the reason, asked to DJI's fine from $279 million to $837 million, and urged DJI as soon as possible to hand over the core code to wait for the survey. Why did the U.S. court insist that DJI hand over the core code? How did DJI respond? And what is China's attitude towards this matter? Welcome to my channel, let's watch today's video together. In April of this year, Textron sued DJI in a Texas court and demanded $279 million in damages from Textron. Textron's main business is military helicopters, while DJI mainly produces civilian drones. The two companies produce completely different types of products, and the technology used in the products is so disparate that there is essentially no overlap. The two patents allegedly infringed by Textron are aircraft hovering control technology and remote tracking control technology. However, except for the similarity of the patent names, the patents of DJI and Textron are completely different in technical aspects. Moreover, one of Textron's two technologies passed patent approval in 2011, and the other passed patent trial only in 2015. Whereas DJI's drones involving these two technologies were produced in 2009, so there is no possibility of encroachment on Textron at all. In terms of the number of applications for patented technologies, DJI submitted 1,500 patent applications in just 1 year, 2016, accounting for 70% of the world's drone technologies. With such strength, is it still necessary for DJI to encroach on Textron's patents? DJI submitted a number of strong evidence according to the requirements of the U.S. court, but all of them were regarded as invalid evidence by the U.S. court. The court asked DJI to hand over the source code of the drone as evidence for the U.S. court to investigate. Source code is the core technology of a product. Once the source code of a drone is snooped, the drone's most core technology will be exposed. This operation of the United States is not even acceptable to their own country, and many netizens have commented that this case exposes the distorted system of patents in the United States. U.S. companies to apply for patents, sometimes knowing that a technology may have long existed, they still pass the approval of the patent. The operation of Textron is a patent trap set for DJI. When Textron applied for the patent, it intentionally named the patent similar to DJI's technology, and then prosecuted it to achieve the purpose of improper competition. At the time of the deposition, the court asked DJI to hand over the source code. If DJI agrees, the U.S. will be able to squarely steal corporate secrets. If it does not agree, it can also go along with it and directly adjudicate DJI's case against it and suppress its market in the United States. DJI naturally will not accept such an unreasonable request, and solemnly declared that DJI has not done anything against U.S. law, and they will not hand over the source code. In the face of DJI's tough response, Textron was furious and immediately filed an opinion with the U.S. court, requesting that the fine against DJI be raised from $279 million to $837 million, or nearly 6 billion yuan. This is also the reason for the fine we mentioned at the beginning of the video. Seeing this, many of you may be a bit confused as to why the court can force DJI to hand over the source code. Here we have to mention the evidence discovery system in the trial process of the U.S. patent cases, i.e., the parties under certain conditions of the mandatory disclosure, through a certain way to require the other party to provide evidence information. In this case, Textron requested DJI to disclose the source code of the drone on the grounds of the trial. DJI, however, stated that some items were technology subject to export bans or export licenses under the Chinese export control laws that Chinese entities must comply with. DJI argued that under Chinese law, they could be penalized for providing the source code if they were unable to obtain an export license. Textron, however, argued to the court that DJI voluntarily entered the U.S. market and cannot now protect itself from discovery under Chinese law. Textron did so by citing U.S. jurisprudence in a June 27 objection filed with the court in response to DJI's quest for relief, saying that, as a past judge implied in a decision in a similar case, if you don't like the rules, then stop doing business in the United States. Textron's opposition catalog also shows its strong opposition to DJI's efforts to seek court relief based on China's restrictions on technology export regulations. This also triggered the U.S. companies against China in some high-tech leading areas, are trying to through the U.S. legal system, including the discovery of evidence, discovery, and other procedures, under the cover of patent infringement cases, to obtain the key core of Chinese companies' trade secrets, source code. This is perhaps the most critical aspect of this unsmoked intellectual property war. Although Textron stated in its opposition that DJI is the importer of the code will never leave DJI's eyes, and only Textron Innovations' outside counsel will see the code, not Textron Innovation itself. Yet in DJI's opinion to the court it states, in order to fulfill its discovery obligations with respect to Chinese source code, DJI must comply with China's export control laws. China's Ministry of Commerce, MOFCOM, and Ministry of Science and Technology, MOST, have promulgated regulations under China's export control laws, including the Catalog of Prohibited Technologies for Export and the Catalog of Restricted Technologies for Export. Under Chinese law, any individual or entity exporting restricted technologies without a license is subject to severe administrative and/or criminal penalties. DJI has reason to believe that at least some of the source code in question, such as that relating to the flight control system, is likely to be technology identified as restricted in the catalog, restricted source code, and therefore would likely require an export license from China's Guangdong Provincial Department of Commerce, GDDOC, in order to enable DJI to produce the restricted source code in this proceeding. Both parties then asked the court to pass a protective order in May of this year, with the difference being only that DJI asked for restrictions on these source code terms, while Textron asked for access to DJI's source code. In late May, however, U.S. District Judge Roy Payne rejected most of DJI's proposals, and on June 8, DJI again challenged Judge Payne's order. Textron, for its part, filed the aforementioned objection to DJI's dissent on June 27. Eventually, Judge Robert Schroeder of the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Texas issued a short order on July 19, making the latest ruling, again rejecting DJI's dissenting request. This means that the U.S. court ruled in the Textron and DJI case that DJI must provide Textron with the source code in question. DJI has the world's largest drone research and development team, and Shenzhen, where it is located, is also the world's largest drone production base. In 2015, security personnel at the U.S. White House broke out in a cold sweat when they spotted a small white drone on the grass while conducting a patrol. The White House is the president's residence and office, which has a lot of important U.S. information and literature, once the drone shooting theft, after unimaginable. After intense investigation and interrogation, the crowd found that the culprit was a drunken official in the United States. Due to the lack of skill, he even drove the drone directly into the White House. And the drone used by this official was produced by DJI. This shows how well the drones produced by DJI perform. DJI produces drones with good performance, and has also taken on many important social responsibilities. In 2019, when Notre Dame de Paris caught fire, firefighters used drones produced by DJI to view the specifics of the fire. During the epidemic, DJI's drone fleet disinfected and sterilized up to 600 million square meters across China. DJI drones are used in a variety of fields, and have quickly conquered the world, becoming one of the world's largest drone manufacturers. But DJI's path to the United States has been stumbling. In 2017, the US imposed a year-long sanction on DJI drones on the grounds that their data was sensitive and could jeopardize national security. However, due to the fact that DJI drones are inexpensive, local US drones are simply not comparable to them in terms of performance in many places. So after the sanctions began, DJI drone sales in the United States not only did not decrease, but also rose substantially. In 2019, the US falsely accused DJI, claiming that the data collected by the drones would be fed back to the Chinese government, and then sanctioned DJI again. The US tested and evaluated DJI's drones for 15 months, and did not find a single instance of the drones passing data, and the US government was once again hit in the face by the facts. In 2021, the US government once again investigated DJI, stipulating that Americans are not allowed to buy DJI drones, but this time it wasn't long before the US military directly approved the purchase of DJI's 2 drones. They said, after their review, they found that there was no problem with these 2 drones, and that is why they allowed them to be purchased. Now, the US is once again looking for reasons to suppress DJI, and it has also set its sights on the core technology of DJI's drones. The US sanctioned DJI drones one after another, and the Chinese government then responded by introducing a decision. On July 31, the State Ministry of Commerce issued a circular calling for a 2-year export control of drone products. Drones can only be exported out of the country after being permitted by the National Quality Approval. And according to the announcement, DJI drones are not allowed to send core technology abroad in any form. This suggests that DJI is complying with Chinese regulations by not handing over its source code. In view of the Russian and Ukrainian sides to buy China's civilian drones, upgraded and transformed for military use, the country has even made relevant regulations. Not only may not sell drones with military potential, even the engine, infrared cameras and other key components are export restrictions. This almost completely eliminates the possibility of certain countries converting our civilian drones into military ones with our parts. After the announcement of drone control, even the United States, wanting to buy Chinese drones, will have to go through the Chinese government's consent. As can be seen from previous purchases by the US from time to time, even during the sanctions against DJI, China's restriction on drone exports is not good for them. The claims of core trade secrets of Chinese high-tech companies behind this case are actually something more Chinese companies should be concerned about. The judge also said in his final order that the court had rejected similar requests in past Huawei cases. This also means that claims against Chinese high-tech companies for their source code are not an isolated case for DJI, but are likely to become a regular feature of claims against Chinese companies. How Chinese companies should protect their source code under the framework of US law, including the disclosure of evidence, while complying with the Chinese government's laws and regulations, will become a common proposition in intellectual property disputes between Chinese and US companies in the coming period. That's all for today, see you next time.